eyes are watching. They can see every move. You might think that it's blank and that they're not, but they are. I guarantee you that I have eyes watching every move, everything that you are doing. So, and they can stop, take a second to think about that, and reflect, and get a sense of the feeling that I'm not empty with what I'm saying, and you can feel how creepy it really is that you have eyes dressing you down left and right, and there's no way to get away from it. So, anyhow, so be looking at um, what they did. We'll go through the scenario of um, the crime that they committed against Mr. Lanham, and this is the trial of Oregon Roseburg is on trial here for, I like to use the word soliciting murder, but actually what they did was it was a way of provoking a murder. So there is, I believe, a distinct way that you can um, manufacture this word, like use this word for this case. Say they provoked this, you'll hear the scenario in the story on how they attempted his murder and solicited somebody. So we'll use that in the place of provoking. So that's how we're going to define soliciting here in this instance. And then we'll look at our scale of the two. Um, it's going to be attempted murder since Mr. Lanham is not deceased um, like they wanted. Um, it's really tough tough going after these terrible people, individuals in the world here. We need to get these people like Deborah Stahl off the streets. She needs to get off the streets. She shouldn't be on the streets anymore. Um, the two officers that came from the Douglas County Sheriff's Office to Mr. Lanham's house should be in prison. Should go to prison for what they did. Because what they discovered was they discovered that Mr. Lanham had not only did he not have anything to do with any crime, but he was not aware of a particular crime that they were um, forced to go and investigate or whatever as law enforcement deputies. And as soon as they knew that Mr. Lanham had nothing to do with it and didn't even know about it, instead of stopping with him, they continued uh, with him anyways, with Mr. Lanham, and attempted to try to get this guy killed. I don't know if they knew that that's what they were soliciting at the time by putting Mr. Lanham in the uh, form court affidavits from one Mr. Justin Saunders um, felony case where he obviously sold some merchandise from a uh, Rob Shepard, Robert Shepard, something like that. Is that the guy's name? Rob Shepard from Dillard, Oregon, right? So, what happened was Mr. Lanham was doing work at this guy's house, like side work, like summer work or whatever. Um, Helping the guy out. The guy disappeared. He got in trouble with his with his parole officer. And he went to check in. Mr. Shepard did. So he left his self a spot kind of vacant at his residency. So Mr. Lanham's father, Father Lanham, can we say Father Lanham? Father Lanham came and left the people a note, told him that his son wasn't going to be um, taking care of the guy's property anymore. That ain't his job. The guy disappears or something happens to him. It's not Mr. Lanham's job to watch the place like that. So Mr. Lanham left. The individual's property that Mr. Lanham was at, Robert Shepard, was more than aware of Mr. Lanham's associates and had Sam Cunningham um, and all of the other people that were associated with him at different times at Rob Shepard's house. So Rob Shepard wasn't necessarily clueless as to who those people were, not necessarily what they were about, but who they were. He was not unfamiliar with those individuals in particular. Mr. Lanham had Mr. Lanham knows these individuals, knows Sammy, and knows all those guys, and knows that it's not that I can't trust them. It's just that I knew that I can't trust them because they are basically um, they're thieves. They're gonna rip something off. They're gonna steal something. And who they hang out with, they're all a bunch of thieves too. They're gonna steal something too. So Mr. Lanham was more than aware of this. So not being able to keep the place, um, you know, how you say, completely locked down and secure. Um, Mr. Lanham took the responsibility and gave it to somebody else and said, if you really care that much about Rob or whatever, you want to be all about the guy's business, you take care of it. So they extracted Mr. Lanham the third from the whole scenario altogether. And Mr. Lanham didn't hang out with Sammy Cunningham and all those guys. At this point, um, he hung out with probably more like some people like Uncle Tony and older people, older gentlemen that don't really want to go to jail. They're older. We're not little kids anymore. We've all had different things that we've been, you know, into or whatever, and we're older people. We don't want to be little children and go and rip off anybody. It don't matter what they did or what I heard about them. It doesn't concern me. The last thing I'm going to think about is stealing from somebody, going to somebody's house when they're not there and ripping them off. It's low down and dirty, and it's really very corny to do that. So anyway, so they these people went back to the guy's house and ripped him off. The police had an investigation over the stuff. Mr. Lanham didn't have any idea. He didn't talk to the people. He didn't associate with the people like he said. He doesn't hang out with younger people. I know who they were. I asked him for help because the guy asked for help at his house. If the cops are that stupid to not be able to clue in and figure that one out, then they really are lacking intelligence. They have probably an IQ of 50 or 60 at that point. And then you have them running criminal investigations. What are the how you do it? You have the people do your investigation work for you, basically. So these scumbag cops came over. They're trying to play good cop, bad cop with me. So at the end of them, uh, their venture into this investigation on who did what and where and whatever on Mr. Shepard's house. They come back to me and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna show you who did this," and I'm like, "All right." So they wake me up. And it's at the time when I could still sleep in. Time I didn't wake up too early. Um, I wake up early now. I'm not trying to say it's bad. I'm refreshed when I wake up early. I'm a farmer, basically. So I'm a farmer type. Um, I'm anything farm to do with the farm, I can do it. Um, so and that's my um, basically my title. My usual title is something ranch, farm, something like of that nature. Out in the country, country boy. Cowboy is actually one of my nicknames. So anyway, so at the end of um, this investigation thing, they come back and they show Mr. Lanham this videotape that they got from the pawn store that these creeps went and sold this stuff to. I don't know what they got or what to do, but it's whenever they do these things, it only lasts uh, a moment for a moment, and the ramification of their action lasts a lifetime. I mean, it lasts a long time. I don't know if these people have ways or means of being able to put too many of their things behind them in their past from what they've done. But anyway, so they come to Mr. Lanham's house. Mr. Lanham takes a TV and a VCR and sets it up in his living room. And the officers come in, and this is probably where I would advise people not to do this and not to even entertain the notion of them entering your premises. I would not advise anybody to allow the cop to actually come in their house. Don't come in my house. You're not allowed in my house. Unless you have a warrant that states that you are supposed to be in my house or have the authority right to be in my house, you do not have the right to be in my house. And I do not let you in my house. And I don't care what the deal is. I don't care if it's the most minor thing to something most severe. They'll have to do their job. And that's all I can say. Be professional at it. So, well, they came in. I made the mistake of letting them come in and letting me see the tape. I should have told them, Mr. Lanham should have told them, I should have been firm with them and basically been very abrupt with them and told them to get the hell out of my house. I should have told them, I don't know, maybe my mom let them in or something else, but um, what they did was they showed me the tape of this guy, Justin Saunders, with not with Sammy, but Sammy's family go into his pawn store in north Roseburg and sell the merchandise that they stole from this person's house. So they basically might have had some of them might have had permission to be there, but surely not permission to steal. But anyways, when they concluded with that investigation, they put Mr. Lanham in the report with the lady from the pawn store, underneath the lady from the pawn store, and I was able to see that in a affidavit from the court that showed my name underneath the lady who they sold the stuff to. So because they showed me the tape of them selling it, of the surveillance tape of the pawn store, the guy went around telling everybody that I narked him off, that I was a rat, that I ratted him off. And then the guy attempted to kill me more than once. One time he got me, the first time he got me really good. So um, I don't know what, if you've ever had somebody uh, strangle you and almost choke you to death. You don't know what it's like to be in a situation, a heavy situation where you don't know, you don't want to die. Nobody really wants to die like that. But the guy tried to murder me, Justin Saunders. So, and I'm not so sure that these particular things, see what they got me for in Roseburg, the felony for beating Mr. Saunders up, goes away. That eventually goes away. But attempted murder and soliciting murder, that never goes away. It's always going to be there. It's always going to be a shit stain in my history that I'll be provoked to go after you legally. No end. I'm going to explain this. I'm going to keep telling my story over and over and over again. How I was bamboozled. So here is uh, your jury is going to be. I'm going to show you who. I selected a jury for you. So we'll get to this in a second. I'm going to look up the scale of the crime that you have committed, Roseburg, and I'm going to look at the scale as the judge over you to see how long what a sentence or um, exactly what the scale says on the crime that you committed, on what the punishment should be. Mm-hmm. Here is. Let me show you here. I selected a jury for you. It is a jury of 12 pigs. I give you 12 pigs is your jury that you get. I got to select every single one of them, and your appointed attorney that I rotated and appointed for you, is actually the custodian from the hospital. So that's who your attorney is. That's who I decided to give you for your attorney, is the damn janitor from Mercy Hospital. That's your that's your lawyer that you get in the rotation that I'll give you. Because that works best for you. It worked for Mr. Lanham whenever you convicted him of a felony for basically standing up to this bully. You convicted him of a felony for going after Mr. Saunders, a guy who came after him for almost 3 years, stalked Mr. Lanham. Did you know that? While Mr. Lanham was going to Umpqua Community College, were you aware of Mr. Lanham's background and his past? Were you aware of the fact that Mr. Saunders tried to choke out and kill Mr. Lanham? And this was all before the felony conviction of Mr. Lanham? Okay, we're going to look at, before I look at the scale, before I do the screen share, I'm going to look at the scale of, um, let's see, punishment for um, attempted murder, and I'll say Oregon. Excuse me. I wanted to actually maybe broaden my scope of Um, wondering if I should ought to go ahead and just go and charge these people federally. If I should go ahead and look at federal. Uh, mhm, yeah, scale scale of punishment for attempted murder in Oregon. Um, don't forget, we're looking at soliciting a murder too. So that's I believe that'll range around on the same barriers around the same as a what is that, manslaughter. I believe that's about the same as manslaughter. So let's see the sentencing guideline grid. Revision 4, sentencing guideline grid. Aggravated murder. Oh, it says the offense of aggravated murder is not ranked in the crime seriousness scale because the sentence is set by statute as death or mandatory life. So just be lucky that you didn't do that one. Attempts and solicitations. I have the attempts. I have the solicitation before me right now. So a conviction for an attempted crime shall be ranked on the crime seriousness scale at two crime categories below the appropriate category for the complete crime. A sentence imposed for an attempted crime shall not exceed the maximum sentence permitted for such criminal conduct under Oregon's I'd say what is that statute? You're gonna say Oregon Statute 161.405. To a conviction for soliciting a crime shall be ranked in the crime seriousness scale at two crime category below the appropriate category for the complete crime. So it's the same. A conviction for attempted aggravated murder or soliciting aggravated murder shall be ranked the crime seriousness scale at crime category 10. So, crime category 10. Yeah, I see these, I see it, but it doesn't, category 10, it doesn't show me category 10. I have criminal history category, and the criminal history scale are the offender's criminal history includes three or more personal felonies and any combination of adult convictions or juvenile adjudication. Well, it's not going to basically be in that criminal history because, you're actually not supposed to use the person's history when you're in court, anyways. You're not supposed to be allowed to bring up the person's uh, priors, and I'm not. I don't think that they have other priors yet. I say yet because this will only provoke them to basically have the public be made aware of more crimes, basically, I would say, against society. You have crimes against humanity. This is a crime against society. So this is a human rights violation to basically screw somebody like this. So, Statute 10. Um, Whether a prior offense shall be classified as a misdemeanor conviction or a felony conviction for criminal history purposes shall be determined by the classifications of the offense at the time of conviction and announced by the sentencing judge rather than by the sentence imposed for the crime. Okay. Um, the jury's gonna come back here soon. I'm gonna have them come back, and we're gonna make a sentence. Um, we're gonna give them a sentence. What for, whatever, tell address the jury, and then um, we're not even gonna worry about what they even really have to say. I know they'd want to hurry up and get out of here. You know, it's really tough. Tough. Bringing these scumbags bags to justice. It really is. It's really hard work. So we'll say um, criminal scale history includes 9 mutually exclusive categories used to classify an offender's criminal history according to the extent of the nature of the offender's criminal history at the time the current crime or crimes of conviction is sentenced. The 9 categories in the scale are labeled alphabetically. Oh, and are arranged in order of seriousness from the most to. Okay, so we'll say 10. 1, 9, 10. Huh. Uh, let's see. History scale. Unranked offenses. Um, Evaded murder. Uh, Sentence guideline grid. Oh, well, a conviction for an attempt or solicitation of an offense ranked on the crime seriousness scale at crime category 1 or 2 shall be ranked crime category 1. A conviction for attempted aggravated murder or soliciting aggravated murder shall be ranked on the crime seriousness scale at crime category 10. So look at this. Seriousness scale. Crime. Crime categories. We'll look up. We'll do another search here to get the scale or the category. Sorry, let's see. Seriousness, crime seriousness scale, crime category. Scale, article for crime seriousness scale, crime category. Alright, don't be making me push this federally now. You keep toying with me here on my searches. I'm gonna have to go after you federally. I'm gonna have to seek federal indictments here instead of just going after you by your own state and your own standards and your own laws that you made your own self. So let's see how this search continues to go. Keep toying with me on this search. We're gonna have to go federally on this. Okay? So crime seriousness scale category R. There we go. Crime seriousness scale Oregon. Aggravated murders. Ah, you got number one is aggravated murder. Manslaughter is two. So, and that's basically what we're going to say the manslaughter. Yeah, that's it two on the other one. Um, using a mental defect, mental incapacitation, or physical helplessness. Yeah, we don't buy any of that. Aggravated drug offense, assault. A victim subsequently contributed to the commission of the offense by precipitating attack otherwise. Good. Sodomy, huh? Sexual penetration, robbery. To cause death while subjecting another person to involuntary servitude. Oh, that could be another charge right there. But that is a different case altogether against. I just figured I don't want to mistrial here. I want to basically get to the bottom of. Let's see if we're not going to actually be able to convict anybody. Um, who would you convict? You would convict, in this case, you would go after the two deputies that came to Mr. Lanham's house because what they did was they provoked the guy into lying to everybody in Roseburg and saying that Mr. Lanham narked him off when Mr. Lanham basically, didn't even know that he even went out to Mr. Shepard's house. So why is the police dragging Mr. Lanham into this? Anyways, when Mr. Lanham wrote a note saying he was not going to be responsible for the gentleman's house anymore. So why is that even Mr. Lanham's problem? Is there other people conflicting with the investigation and what's been said in the story? Leading back to Mr. Lanham's house for some reason. Because somebody from Winston or somebody from the VFW in Winston or somebody back then thought Mr. Lanham should be continually drug back in here, even though Mr. Lanham's more than clearly wrote a letter saying that he had nothing else to do with Mr. Shepard's house. When Mr. Saunders went there, it was absolutely nothing to do with Mr. Lanham at all. So why is Mr. Lanham in Mr. Saunders' court affidavits whenever he got his felony conviction? And why is Mr. Saunders coming after Mr. Lanham for 3 years after he broke into some guy's house and ripped the guy off? Now Mr. Lanham's a rat and deserves to die because he talked to the police. um, we have ways of dealing with this stuff. So I'm gonna sentence the two law officers as soon as society and public and the country of America, um, maybe through the DOJ or anywhere else here, takes me as serious as I'm being serious right now. I'm not trying to make a mock court case or mock anything. I'm being serious as hell. The two officers there, um, Mr. Lanham is going to be awarded funds from Roseburg, Oregon. It's going to be a determined settlement in the situation. Is going to be my determination as being the judge over this YouTube trial on Roseburg. Mr. Lanham versus Roseburg. Roseburg is on trial right now. I want the two deputies each are going to get a conviction for attempted murder, um, and then the soliciting um, for trying to push Mr. Lynn to get killed by somebody whenever they're supposed to serve and protect the public. I would like 2 years to be imposed for the provoking part, the soliciting part, and 4 years each for the attempted murder. So that's a 6 year prison sentence to the officers that did this to Mr. Lanham. So, um, and I don't have to give their names or the time or date or anything like that. All I have to do is say what I said. Um, we're going to bring the pigs in, and that's going to be what I'm going to pigs. Let's see. I'm going to bring the jury in here. Here's the jury. All right, jury. Um, we come to a conclusion. Um, for attempted murder and soliciting murder, we're going to go ahead and um, with a all the jury has to tell me is guilty or not guilty. That's all they have to tell me. And with a guilty, with them coming back and telling me guilty or not, um, uh, we're gonna say we'll grant Mr. Lanham um, an award, of um, I'd say 12 to $20 million for um, trying to have him killed. Um, that's the award that the city of Roseburg is going to have to pay him if if these guys come back and say Roseburg is guilty, and then we want to impose impose a 6 year prison sentence for or um, the police provoking an attempted murder in Mr. Lanham, and uh, soliciting to do so. It's the crime in the in the provoking of itself. So they had intention to have him killed, and they had to solicit their action in a way. So we impose 6 year prison sentence. We'll underline that. Underline 6 year prison sentence. Okay, jury, have you come up with a have you come up with a decision yet? Wee! Yeah, we come guilty. We're guilty. Wee! All right, thank you, jury. You're now in deliberated.